Hello, I'm Brian and this is DIY Off-Roading, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to measure your wheel bolt pattern. So it doesn't matter if it's an 8 lug, 5 lug, 3 lug, I'm going to show you how to measure that. So stay tuned. So as you can see on Slickstone here, we went from a 5 lug, traditional 5-on-5 lug pattern to a 6.5 by 8 lug pattern with the full floating conversion here, and I had to order a new set of rims. So I'm going to show you how to measure that out now. So to measure your bolt pattern, you're going to need a good quality tape measure or a micrometer like this one here. These are really cheap. I'll link this up in the description of the video. What we got here is a 8 bolt pattern wheel spacer here for a wheel, and I'll show you how to do it on this. This will give me a good measurement. So my micrometer is not quite large enough to go across, so we're going to use, on this application, we're going to use a tape measure. So you're going to measure from the center of the stud, and you're going to go all the way across and measure the center of the stud. So in this case here, we got a 6.5 inch measurement. So this is 8 by 6.5. So this is how you measure for a even amount of studs, so such as a 8 or a 6 lug wheel. So it's an even amount of studs. You're going to measure from the center to the center of the other stud on the opposite side. And that'll give us our bolt pattern. A 5 lugs or a 3 lug is a little bit different, and I'll show you how to measure that in just a second. So if this happened to be a 6 stud, you would do the same thing. You would just measure from cross to cross, from center to center, and that'll give you, so it'll be a 6 by 8 or 6.5. Since this is a 8 lug, this is 8 by 6.5. So I hope that makes sense to you. So when you got an odd number such as a 5 bolt pattern or a 3 wheel bolt pattern, you're not going to measure from the middle to the middle. What you're going to do is measure, the correct way to do it is measure from the middle of one stud to the outside of another stud. On a 5 lug pattern, it's a little bit different the way you measure. So on a even number pattern, you would measure from center to center, but since it's an odd number, you're going to measure from the center of one to the outside edge of the other one here. So I'm using a micrometer here, and as you can see, this is exactly 5 inches. This is a 5-on-5 lug pattern here. So I like to use the micrometer versus the tape measure because it's a little easier to see how this has a hump here. So it's a little easier to measure it. And also, if you notice, I took the lug nuts off on here to measure this. So it gives you a little bit more accurate versus, you know, trying to measure to the outside of a lug nut. So you want to measure from the stud, outside of the stud to the middle here. So measuring something like this, where you have to float the tape measure and kind of eyeball it from here to here, you know, it can be a little difficult. So I like to use the micrometers. Plus, if you want to switch it from so you can zero it out, and then when you measure, if you want it in inches or metric, you can just push a button right here, and that'll switch it. So if you're doing something where you need a metric number, all you have to do is push the button, and you can convert it from inches to metric. I'll link this up in the description of the video. So on the back of my Jeep here is it's only has 3 lugs, so you can imagine this as a 3-wheel lug. It could be a trailer, it could be a wheelbarrow. You know, it might have 3 lugs. So if you want to measure it, you're going to measure from, since it's an odd number, you're going to measure from the center of one stud to the outside of one stud like that. And this would be a 3 by 5 inch wheel pattern. So if you guys need a good quality tape measure or a micrometer, I will leave links for them down in the description. I'd like to thank you guys for watching and encourage you to subscribe. I want to introduce you to my helpers here. Right here we got Pebbles, we got Bambi, Dolly, and Izzy. And then right over here in the background here is Sasha. So if you heard all that noise in the background, that's what you're hearing.